Hi there. In this video I'm going to discuss the definition of the absolute value and some rules of the absolute value, in addition to solve some problems relating to this topic. Now we look on the real number line and consider the original number O is at this point. If we consider any real number like A at this point, so the distance between 0 and A is a positive quantity, or when A and 0 are coincides, I mean they are on the same point, the distance is 0. Even if A and the other side of O, if it's on the left side of O and the negative side, still the distance is positive or 0. So in general we use the symbol absolute value of A to refer to the distance we're talking about. According to this definition, we can say the absolute value is a positive when A is positive, or it is 0 when A is 0. When A is negative, I mean in the negative side of the original number, it will be negative A to make it positive. That means we put here negative to be multiplied by negative, negative by negative, it will give me a positive, which is the meaning of the distance or the absolute value. Now let us discuss the rules of the absolute value. The first rule we can talk about: when we multiply two numbers A and B and take the absolute value for the result, it will be the same as we got the absolute value for each of them, then multiply these two absolute values together. This is the first rule. Let us give an example. Consider A is negative 3, for instance, it's negative 3. B is a positive 5. So when we multiply A by B, the result is negative 3 times positive 5, which is negative 15. So the absolute value for A times B, it will be the same absolute value of the result, which is negative 15. What's the absolute value of negative 15? It is positive 15. Now let us discuss the other side. The absolute value for A is absolute value of negative 3. which means it's a 3. Also, the absolute value of b is absolute value of positive 5, which is positive 5. So when we multiply together the absolute value of A and absolute value of B, we got absolute value of A times absolute value of B equals the result here 3 times the result here is 5, which means 15. So we see here the value of absolute value of A times absolute value of B, which is 15. It's the same of absolute value of A times B. That's the same rule number 1 here. Now let us see the other rule, which is about division. When we divide A and over B and get the absolute value, it will be the same as we divide the absolute value for A on absolute value of B, under condition B is not 0, because when B is 0, the denominator is 0, this undefined. Again, let us see this example. A is negative 5, B is positive 8. So the absolute value for negative 5 over plus 8 or positive 8 equals the absolute value of negative or positive over positive, it will be negative 5 over 8. So the absolute value for negative 5 over 8 is 5 over 8. It will be positive. Same for absolute value of negative 5. It will be 5. And absolute value for positive 8, it will be 8. So when we divide these two together, the result of negative absolute value of negative 5 over absolute value of plus 8 is equal 5 over 8. By comparing the two answers here, this answer and this answer, they are equals. That means the same result we got if we start with finding the absolute value for the result of division, or finding the absolute value for each number, then divide them. It will be the same result. This leads to the second rule here. Now let us go to another rule. The absolute value for real number A with power n is the same as we got the absolute value for A. Then we the power n for the result, where n is an integer. To discuss this by example, take a as any number like positive 4 and n any number like 3. So the absolute value for a to power n is the absolute value for the number positive 4 to power 3, which means here plus 4 multiplied 3 times, plus 4 times plus 4 times plus 4. The result will be plus 4 by 4, that's 16, by 4, that's 64. So the absolute value for plus 64 is 64. Now if we repeat this by first getting the absolute value for a, will be the absolute value for plus 4, which is 4. Then by finding the absolute value for a to power n, which means number 4 plus 2 power 3 here. After finding the result, we multiply the result by itself 3 times, which means here is a 4, as we found here, 4 times 4 times 4, which will be 64 also. So the same result we got here and here. That's why we say the third rule for the absolute value is this one, this number 3. So now we have the definition of the absolute value and have 3 rules for the absolute values. We will write them right here. Absolute value for a equals a when a is positive or 0, or absolute value of a is negative a when a is negative. A is negative, that means a is less than 0. Here, don't forget, we just put negative sign in front of a because a is negative here. So negative by negative, it will be positive, which is the definition we gave for the absolute value. And the rules we discussed already, it's number 1 was absolute value of A times B is equal to absolute value for A times absolute value for B. This the first one. Second one, for the dividing A by B and finding the absolute value, it's the same as we find the absolute value for A and the absolute value for B and make the division with condition B is not 0, because denominator will not be 0. And the third rule we discussed is when A with power n and find the absolute value for A to power n, it will be same as we find first the absolute value of A and the result after then is with power n, where n is an integer number. Let us solve some problems relating to this topic. Question or example 1. Express absolute value of 2x minus 1 without the symbol of absolute value. Without the absolute value symbol. The meaning of this question is just writing this form without using the absolute value. So you will use the definition here we wrote in the first line, as absolute value has two states: A when A is positive or is 0, or negative A when A is negative. So we'll take this and write it under this definition by saying absolute value for 2x minus 1 equals 2x minus 1 when 2x minus 1 is positive or 0, or negative 2x minus 1 when 2x minus 1 is negative. And then we will simplify both inequalities here by finding the symbol form for this inequality. Just negative 1 here will be moved to other side, then we divide on 2. So the result will be 2x minus 1, where here first step move negative 1 to the other side, it will be positive 1. Then dividing by 2, it will be x is greater than or equal 1, which is positive. We moved it here and divided on 2 both sides, so it will be 2 is here. So x is greater than or equal 1/2. And same we do here. Same. First move negative 1 to the other side, then divide on 2. All this operation will not change the sign of inequalities. So here it will be x is less than 1/2. And this, it will be negative by 2x, it will be negative 2x. And negative by negative, it will be plus 1. So this is the expression for the absolute value of 2x minus 1 without using the absolute value. That's the meaning of the question and how to solve it. Let us see another example. Express the quantity of absolute value to minus 3/5 x without using the expression of absolute value. So we just write according to the definition here, we just write this is equal to cases. The first case, 2 minus 3/5x, when all this quantity is positive. I mean when 2 minus 3/5x is positive or 0. The second case, just put negative here in front this quantity, 2 minus 3/5x, when this quantity is negative, when 2 minus 3/5x is negative. Now we try to simplify this inequality and this inequality. So this will be equal the same state, 2 minus 3/5x, where now we have 2 can be transferred to other side. It is positive here, it will be negative on the other side. So the first step we write negative 3/5x is greater than or equal negative 2. And also this inequality, the same thing we do. So negative 3/5x is less than negative 2. and this we can write it without brackets, so it will be -2, and negative by negative is a plus, so we write the plus in the first, plus 3 over 5x, and -2 after then. Still we need to simplify those to another form. We need to just get rid of this number. You see this number is negative, so we get rid of it by dividing both sides on this number, or by multiplying by the inverse of this number. The inverse of this number is 5 over 3 negative, which is the same sign, but the inverse 5 will be up and the 3 will be down. So multiplying this by the inverse, as we multiply both sides of the negative, the inequality sign will be changed from greater than or equal to less than or equal. Be careful about this. And here we do the same thing by multiplying the other side by this inverse, which is -5 over 3 by -2. And we do here the same thing. -5 over 3 times -3 over 5x and this will be changed into greater than, and multiply the other side by -5 over 3 by -2. See what happened? We change this sign into this sign because we multiplied both sides by negative. And the same thing, this has been changed to this sign, from less than to greater than. And we write those in the same 2 minus 3 over 5x, here 3 over 5x minus 2. By simplifying here, we can cancel 3 with 3 and 5 with 5, and negative by negative, that's plus, so we got the value of x. So we write here x is less than or equal, negative by negative, that means positive. 3 times 2 here is 1. 3 times 2, that's 5 times 2, that's mean 10. And 3 times 1, that's mean 3. And the same thing here will happen. Just keep the inequality sign, so it will be plus 10 over 3. And we state all those here, writing those. 2 minus 3 over 5x or 3 over 5x minus 2. Consider this as a part 1 of the video, and we will follow in the second part. Thank you for watching, and please keep watching. Thank you.